Greetings! It's 1 week closer to Christmas and we have our bells block done. So now I thought I'd switch over to some stars. This isn't going to be a standing star, this is going to be a spinning star. Hi, I'm Penny Hallgren from QuiltBlockLibrary.com. Welcome, and if you're ready, I'm ready to get started. This is a picture of the block that I'm going to be showing, and let's go over to the sewing machine. Because my flannel board is occupied with another quilt block, I'm just going to set up these patches right next to my sewing machine and sew them together. The first ones I'm going to work on are the corner patches, and you can see that all of the little tips of the triangles get sewn together first. So what I'm going to do is put the corner green on top of the red and sew this right sides together, and I'll do that with all 4 of the red triangles and the green triangles. Now with those sewn together, it's time to add the second triangle onto the unit. And because I want this star, the red points, to stand out, I'm going to fold the seam allowance behind. And what that's going to do, it's going to make in the ditch the green, and the fabric from the red fabric is going to stand out. And the reason I'm making that decision right now is that when I add this second piece on, I'm going to end up sewing that seam allowance down so that it's facing toward the red fabric. Now that this unit is sewn together, it's time to add this little corner triangle to the bottom, and that'll complete the square for each of the patches in the corner. All these little corner units are sewn together, and now just looking at the pattern, what we have left are some half square triangles that need to be connected. So I'm going to just sew the half square triangles together, and that's half green and half yellow. And those are pretty simple. You just fold them right sides together and stitch. Because I don't have my flannel board and I'm working with kind of limited space, I'm just going to line these up one row at a time. So I've got my 2 corner patches with the star points here, and I have my half square triangle sewn together. So the next thing I need to do is sew this half square triangle unit onto the square. And now that I've got that unit sewn together, I'm going to stitch these 3 together so I'll have the top part of the block done. And I'm just going to flip this over, sew these together, and what I'm going to do is make sure that I sew this seam allowance so that it's facing up, so that I have that entire red thing with the seam allowances behind it. I've got those 2 pieces sewn, and then I'm just going to add the third, and again make sure that I sew this seam allowance so that it's facing toward the red triangle. Now I've got the top section complete, and I'm ready to sew this center section together, and I'm going to chain stitch this as much as I can. So I've got these 2 pieces that I can sew together, and then I've got these 2 pieces that I can sew together. So now I've got these 2 units sewn together, and I'm going to put those together, and then after I finish sewing these together, I'll add this piece on the end. Now I've got the top row and the center section finished, and instead of sewing all 3 rows together and then sewing the rows onto each other, I'm going to change this up a little bit, and I'm going to sew the center section onto the top section. So as you do this, then you're just going to want to make sure that you line up all of these seam allowances where they match and turn them in opposite directions where you can. And although you want to make sure that you press them or you stitch them the same way that they're already stitched, so that you don't end up with any crossovers. And now we're ready for the bottom part. So the first thing to do is sew these 2 pieces together, the square onto the half square triangles. Now I've got the center section done, so I'm just going to take that and fold it over and sew it onto the corner piece. And we have this last corner piece that just gets sewn onto the remainder of that row. And finally, we get to sew the bottom row onto the rest of the block, and then we'll be complete. Our spinning star is all finished now, and you can see why it's called a spinning star, because it's pretty cool. Nice, bright Christmas colors. There's just 1 star left before Christmas, and I hope you'll join me next week for whatever star happens to be coming up. This is Penny Hallgren from QuiltBlockLibrary.com signing off. Peaceful piecing.